Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick.
I'm Ian.
Today we're talking about why in 2023 is vinyl still so popular. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you go check all those out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music weekly playlist we put together, and also the Patreon page. So make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give us the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we release new episodes. So I think we've talked a lot about the price of vinyl records on this channel and on social media and a lot of other YouTube channels over the last couple of years. And with, we did a video, I think it was like mid part of last year, maybe an earlier part of last year, where we talked about the price of vinyl, at least at that time, was kind of leveling off. And even though prices were still high, you were still able to get a lot of new releases in that, under, I would say probably in the $28 to $32, $35 range. Well, that's all kind of changed because there's been multiple price increases since then. A lot of new releases are now in that $35+ range. I'm seeing new releases that are, $40, $45 plus, $50. There's a lot of crazy pricing out there. And that's kind of what we want to know is, like, even though prices are bad, vinyl records are still hugely popular, and there's still growth. And you compare the growth of vinyl records, I know there's a couple of articles circulating on social media over the last several weeks about how the vinyl bubble had burst and the doom of vinyl. I think, we've even talked about that a little bit. But, yes, if you look at the sales numbers last year for vinyl records, they only rose by 4%, which sounds bad. But you're kind of comparing that to this like huge boom that we'd seen in 2020, 2021, where there was like this unprecedented growth in vinyl record sales.
However, you have to almost take those years out of the equation, at least 2020, because people were home.
Yeah.
And you maybe not going to the record stores, but they were buying records online.
Yeah. Discogs.
Yeah. So that would have, I would think, to some degree, maybe not a lot, but to some degree, artificially inflated those sales for those years.
2020 and 2021, I think, are outliers. And then if you compare the numbers from last year to before 2020, last year was still kind of relatively flat for vinyl sales. But I think a lot of that has to do with the price. Right.
And it's probably a more natural growth. A 4% growth is probably more natural.
Yeah.
Than, especially with pricing, than a 30 or 40% boost, which, like I said, seems overinflated.
Yeah.
And which probably in many ways has led to the increase in pricing because, when people are buying stuff, that supply and demand thing, people are going to buy it, you're going to raise the price.
And if you look at the very small increase in vinyl record sales last year, and compare that to everything else, yes, there was a 4.2% increase in vinyl sales. The only other thing that really rose in sales are cassettes. Cassette sales rose by 28% last year, which is an insane number. There was 440,000 cassettes sold last year.
Yeah.
Which that's a big number. But if you look at everything else, CD sales were down 11.6%. Which, a year ago we were talking about how
they were kind of coming up.
They were. Last year was the year before was the first time, in 20 plus years that vinyl sales that actually rose. And then we saw
sales.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry. Yeah, CD sales. And then we see CD sales drop by 11%. That's a big number. Digital album sales in general down 22.8% last year.
Right. And digital is what, was supposed to kill physical media,
Well, it kind of did.
It did, but in this case, in terms of music, the digital sales dropped by 22%, and vinyl sales still went up 4%, which, like you said, is flat.
Across the board, like everything dropped last year, but you still saw this growth against the grain from vinyl records.
Right. And to be fair, I think you have to look at obviously the pandemic played a part in that. And going forward, I have a feeling that we might not even see a 4% increase this year for the year 2023 because we're staring down a possible recession. And people are getting laid off. They're not. Yeah. You can't spend $45 on a record or multiple records on a weekly basis if you're out of a job.
Yeah.
Or if you're worried that you might be out of a job. So a lot of those factors have to play into it to a degree. And we're also in unprecedented times because no other time in history, to my knowledge, has something like vinyl, a thing, made such a huge comeback as vinyl has. So, I mean, all of that, and CDs as well.
Yeah.
Cassettes. Who would have thought 10 years ago anyone would even be buying cassettes?
Yeah, exactly.
So these are kind of unprecedented elements thrown into a natural ebb and flow of economic growth and shrinkage. So,
and when you look at the sales numbers from last year, there were still 43.5 million records sold last year, which is a big number.
Right.
So one of the things that I think really kind of has kept vinyl records relevant, is this culture that's been built around vinyl records. And that's kind of the one thing that we've always kind of talked about, why local record stores are so important, is because when you go to your big box stores, your Walmarts, your Targets, whoever, the people that are working there, they don't care about your record. They don't care about your musical interests. It's just a sale to them. Where if you go to your local record store, there's a vested interest that they have in your musical interests, what you've got going on. And there's this whole culture that's been built around the record store. It's great to kind of just go and hang out and talk music with like-minded people. I think that's one of the things that really has kind of kept the momentum going in record sales and has really kind of drawn in younger generations also. Mm-hmm. And speaking of younger generations, I think there's this physical aspect to records and CDs that a lot of them didn't grow up with.
Right.
So they've grown up with digital music. So now there's actually a tangible form of that music.
It's very new to them.
It's very new to them. So, and I think that's why you've seen younger generations get into it and kind of maintain this growth that we've seen. And I think kind of going hand in hand with that, of course, is the listening experience with vinyl records. It's so different than listening to a digital file on your phone. You can actually pick up the record, look at the album artwork, read the liner notes. That's one of my favorite things is to get an album and, while I'm listening to it, just kind of go over the liner notes on it and read everyone that's involved in the making process and who they think and other bands that they mention on there. And you don't really get that kind of thing with a digital file.
And for me, even beyond that, because I do the exact same thing, but I even like the details, like minor details in the artwork.
Yeah.
Certain choices that might have been made or could have been made differently. Just, when the listening experience it's all part of it.
Yeah.
When I'm sitting down listening to a record, I usually have the record cover in my hand and I'm doing that. I'm looking at the liner notes. I'm looking at just all the details, and it becomes part of the process. It becomes part of the enjoyment of it.
Yeah. And of course, I think the big thing for why records are still popular is because they just sound better than MP3s.
Right.
I don't care what streaming service you use, records sound better. They just sound great. Obviously, if you've got lossless, so if you're using Apple Music, you're using Tidal, there's a conversation you can have there. I think that a lot of those, because they are lossless files, they do sound great. They do have CD sound quality to them. I think you can look at that and kind of compare that to records. Yeah. But if you're listening to Spotify, I'm sorry, Spotify users.
Yeah.
Spotify sounds like garbage. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's just, you don't notice it until you, I've been digitizing my CDs in lossless form on my phone because I put a CD in my car and it was something that I'd been listening to on Spotify, and it's just such a big difference. It's a
night and day difference.
It's a night and day difference. I never noticed it before. As much as I listen to music, because you're in a car, you got the engine going, the sound of the cars going by. You miss some of the nuance of it.
Yeah.
But I had to adjust all of my settings when I went to all my lossless files that I've got on my phone for my CDs. I had to adjust all the settings on my.
It's a huge
my bass,
difference.
Everything had to be adjusted because it was so overpowering because I'd had everything either cranked up or cranked down to make up for the loss you get from MP3.
Yeah. And, of course, we all stream music, but it's primarily out of convenience.
Right.
It's a lot of people are going to drag their CD collection along with them. I do have a little, case that I keep like 25 CDs
Right.
in my car and kind of change them out, for whatever I'm listening to. But a lot of people don't do that.
Right.
It's so much easier just kind of plug your phone in your car and kind of go. So I don't want to bash on people that listen to
Oh yeah, no, I still
Spotify,
use Spotify. I mean, I use it more for like experimenting, like trying to find new stuff. Like, oh, I've never heard of that band. Let me look them up.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
in my car, and to be fair, yeah, if I couldn't have that lossless version on my phone, I wouldn't do it. I would just stick with the MP3 in my car and have the vinyl at home. But being able to have a higher quality sound in my car makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But I don't want to carry my CDs around. I've done that in the past.
Yeah.
I've lost too many CDs. Too many CDs have been damaged that way.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that ever again. This is a way I can have my cake and eat it too.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it just sounds better.
It just sounds better. Yeah.
Well, that's all we got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Like I said, it's an interesting topic just because what you're reading on social media about like the doom and gloom of vinyl records. And I think it's
Most of it's clickbait.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's really kind of overblown. I think we're still going to continue to see growth in vinyl records. It's not going to be the 20, 30, 40% that we saw during the pandemic.
Unless prices go down.
Unless prices go down, then it might. But I think if we continue the slow, steady growth, I think that's what we need for the long-term health of the vinyl record industry, I think. But I don't know, let us know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give us the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. And that's all we got. Until next time,
Talk to y'all later.
keep on spinning. Peace.